Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mad Scientist Brewing Beer Education Series. This week's episode looks at three types of permanent draft systems used for serving beer at a bar or restaurant, or at home. In a previous video, I talked about temporary systems like jockey boxes, but these should not be used for a permanent system because they can affect the long-term stability and quality of the beer. The most simple type of permanent draft system is the direct draw system. In this system, the faucets or tap towers are connected directly to the refrigerated unit where the kegs are stored. This is essentially a kegerator, and most likely what someone is going to use if serving draft beer at home. It is also commonly used under the bar at bars and restaurants, especially if only a few draft beer options are going to be used, since the kegs also need to be stored under the bar. The next type of draft system is the air-cooled draft system. This system uses a larger air-cooled room or space, which is located close to the taps. Having a larger space allows for additional or larger kegs to be stored, but there is increased distance between the kegs and the taps as a result. For all draft systems, it is critical that the beer is kept at the same temperature as it travels from the keg to the tap to prevent gas escaping and a foamy pint being poured. Any space between the refrigerated room and the tap needs to be cooled by blowing cold air from the refrigerated room through tap towers and any space outside of the room. This can be accomplished by building what's called a shadow box, which connects the refrigerated room to where the taps ultimately end up and keep everything cooled at the same temperature without requiring cooling lines. Aside from this, the air-cooled system is still relatively simple and similar to the direct draw system with longer beer lines from the keg to the tap. The last and most complicated type of draft system is the glycol chilled system, or the long draw system. This system is used when the refrigerated room where kegs are stored is a good distance away from the taps, and it is not feasible to utilize a shadow box to keep lines cooled. In this system, the beer lines are run in an insulated bundle called a trunk line, along with separate lines containing a refrigerant called glycol. The glycol is run in a circulating loop to a cooler, such that chilled glycol runs alongside the beer lines and keeps them cold as beer travels the distance to the taps. In addition to the glycol chiller, long draw systems sometimes utilize beer pumps to move beer using inert nitrogen gas. If the distance between the keg and the taps is short enough, like in the first two systems, CO2 is enough to move the beer through the lines. But at distances that exceed 200 feet, CO2 alone will overcarbonate the beer. Beer pumps use a blend of CO2 and nitrogen, which does not dissolve into beer, to move it long distances without overcarbonating it. There's a lot more detail involved in a long draw system that requires explaining draft components in more depth, so I'll save that for another video. And I'll probably leave it at there. This is a rather short video, but this is multi-parts to a different subject. If I went into too much detail, it would be a very long video, so I'm going to break this up into a few different ones and keep this just to the three types of draft systems. So in that, I will leave it there, and until next time, cheers.